Now in this section we'll be looking at Google text ads and how to optimize them effectively. And some of the things we'll cover is the structure of a Google text ad and what it looks like and how that will help you write effective and successful Google ads, which is another lesson that we'll be covering. We'll also look at where to show your Google ads, so devices, locations, time of day, and so on, and how you can maximize that and improve the performance of your campaigns. And we will look at why your Google ads are not showing and avoid some of the mistake many advertisers make when they're looking at their ads, and they sort of get confused as they're trying to see their ads. So this is what we're covering in this section, and let's get started. So in this video we'll be talking about the structure of a Google text ad. Now Google in the last 2 years has updated text ads from standard text ads to expanded ads, and you can see the expanded ads in this ad group for my campaign. So you can see headline 1, headline 2, the URL, and some keywords in there which form a display URL and the description. So if we click edit and bring this up, this is the final URL that takes people to the landing page, and it should always be as specific as possible to the keywords and ads that you have in the ad group. And then next is headline 1, and this is headline 2. Headline 1, preferably try and include your keyword in there, your main keyword in headline 1, because people in general are likely to see the headline 1 more than any other part of your ad, and that's what they will click on. In fact, headline 1 and headline 2 are the only clickable part of your ad, as we'll see. Of course, there's site link extensions which can be clicked on, but those don't always appear with the ad. Now headline 2 is where you go into some features or benefits about what you offer to your searchers and so on. And these two, each of them, you have 30 character limits, so that includes spaces. So in this case I've used 26 spaces, so there's 4 more left. So try and use as much as you can, but obviously it should make sense to the people that are seeing the ad. And next you've got this is the domain name, which will be similar to this bit. Now this part is known as part 1 and this is part 2. What you do with this is add your main keyword. So our keyword in this ad group is AdWords expert, so we put it as AdWords in one and expert in the other, or if you wanted you could put it as AdWords expert like that as well, and then just remove this one and not use the second one. It's really up to you and your own testing and so on. So the nice thing about this, as I'll show you shortly when in the search results what it looks like, it just makes your URL look more relevant to the keyword, and people look at it and likely to click. It actually looks more relevant than this final URL. So this really gets people clicking and wanting to see what's on the page. And finally you have your description, and this has an 80 character limit. So this you can go into more detail about what you offer, what your products and services are about, and as mentioned, you've got 80 characters to play with. All of this space is quite limited, so your copywriting skills have to come into play, or get help from a copywriting expert who can just put it succinctly for you and get your message out there and get people clicking. So that's the sort of structure of a standard text ad. And there's also ad extensions and so on, like site links and call out extensions, and those should also be included. So looking at this ad, I've done a search on Google and it brings up my ad there, and basically that's our headline headline 1, and that's headline 2, and it's separated by a pipe, and obviously it tells us it's an ad. and then this is the URL with the part 1 and part 2 with the keywords. And as you can see, it just looks relevant, especially if someone searches for AdWords expert, and they are more likely to click. And then when we come here, we've got our description, which is showing there and just looks really relevant to people. And coming down here, we've got our call out extensions. We also have our structured snippet extensions from here, services. So these are structured snippet extensions of other services that I offer. This is about other things that come with the AdWords expert service that's being offered. And these clickable ones are your site links, which you also add in the ad extension. So these are clickable, as you can see, and they take you to other pages on the site. So if you want, you've read all of this and you're happy with it, and you decide, let me check out the awards and certifications. And then you also have my business address there, which is added in location extensions, and very good for people that are local, who will see and likely to click through and come through to your business. And finally, you also have the call extension, so my telephone number. If you're mobile, you can click on that instantly, and if I'm using Google forwarding numbers, it records it as a conversion. So that's the structure of your ad, and something you should think through carefully as you're setting up yours. So in this video, I want to talk about writing successful Google text ads, and it's important to have really effective ads because that helps your clicks, click-through rates, quality scores, conversions, bounce rates, and many other metrics that you're tracking. When everything is well written and keywords and search terms are related, people are a lot happier, and they generally show in the engagement they have with your website. So we'll go through some of the main things to include as you're writing your text ads. First and foremost, your headline one. Headline one is very important because it's one of the first things people see about your ad, and it's important that you put the most important feature in there, and that generally tends to be the keyword in your ad group. When people see their keyword or search term in the headline, whether it's headline 1 or 2, they're more likely to click, and that helps boost your click-through rate and improves your quality score and your clicks and conversions. So try and include in your headline 1 your keyword, and that's best practice and something that Google recommends as well. So you've got 30 character limit, and you can't go above 30 characters, so you have to put keywords that fit within there. You can also use a syntax like I have here, curly brackets, open curly brackets, keyword, colon, the keyword, the default keyword, and close brackets. So this basically includes the keyword. It updates it with the keyword that the person used during their search and includes it in there. So you don't have to write an ad for each keyword in your ad group. You can use this syntax, which will update it and replace with the keyword that is in the ad group. And next is your headline 2. This is where you go into more detail about what you have to offer, and try and include a call to action in there. So in this case, I've got a free PPC AdWords audit, and free tends to be very powerful in getting people to click through and engage with your website and so on. So include something there. Maybe you want to tell people to call you, or you've got an offer, included in there. And then your description, you've got 80 characters, so you can go into more detail about what you have to offer. So maybe include a USP, include other benefits that you offer. Are you affordable? How can they get in touch? And stuff like that. More about your business or yourself. And it's important to talk about what people are really interested in and what's relevant to them, rather than talking about how long you've been in business and stuff which people don't, they may have interest in it, but that's usually after they've seen that you offer what they generally want. So also include a unique selling point. If you've got something unique about your product or service, don't leave it out, because that's what people generally interested in. And you can also include a USP or a benefit in headline too, and that will just get people clicking through to your site and so on. And in this part 1 and part 2, also try and include your keywords there. It creates a vanity URL that looks relevant and makes people want to click through and so on. So those are some of the key things that you should be looking to include in your ads, just to make them successful and get people clicking. Avoid telling people just to call you without including a benefit, because that's just an empty call to action. There has to be a reason why they should call you. What are they getting? Is it something free? Is there an offer? Do you have the solution to what they need, and so on? And also avoid asking people questions that are obvious. So if someone, for example, is looking for a plumber in London, don't ask them a question in the ad like, are you looking for a plumber? I mean, assume you have the answer. So don't ask them something that people come to Google to ask questions, and asking them that kind of question just doesn't do well for your ads. Instead, maybe ask them something related to that is more relevant, that you know they may want, and so on. So those are some of the main features that you should include that will help you write successful Google ads. So in this lesson, I'll be talking about the places where you should be looking to show your ads, and specifically talking about search campaigns. So if you go into your campaign, as I have here, the campaign Google AdWords UK, and into settings, there's a number of features that help you determine where to show your ads. And the first one I want to start with is the networks. So if you're running a search campaign, you obviously will run it on Google search, and that will come up, and you'll see your ads as well. Your likely visitors will see your ads and click through and so on. So that's the first place it will show. And next is on Google search partner sites. As you see here, I've included that, and these are sort of other search engines that are part of the Google search network, and it's often good to include them because people are searching, and in general, if they are searching on Google or another search engine, they are highly qualified and likely to want be interested in what you have to offer. So that's certainly something to include. But based on performance, you can see and look at your reports and see how your ads are performing on search partners. If it's lower than Google, which will sometimes be the case with some industries, you can just come here and remove it. The other thing is, in this case, like with this campaign, if you wanted, you can expand your reach by showing it to relevant visitors on the display network. So as they browse the net on third-party sites, placements and apps, they will see your ads, and then you can include that if you wanted. Obviously, display is a different campaign type, and my advice is to always separate it from search, because user behavior on those platforms is different, and the visitor intent is different, and you want to sort of write different type of ads for those different audiences as you do your advertising. The other important place to consider is definitely your location. So where are you advertising? So here we're advertising in the UK. If you wanted, you could target all countries and territories in the world, or you can pick another specific location, maybe a city, a region, postcode, or another country. So you have those options. And if you wanted, obviously you can do some radius targeting. So maybe say 10 miles around a specific city, or let's say Cambridge, for example, or 20 miles around Cambridge, and then it will come up with the areas you're going to cover. Now, radius targeting I've found to not always be 100% accurate. You may get calls from outside those regions, so it may be a small fraction of it, but it's something definitely you're likely to see as you use radius targeting. So probably in some cases best to use the other targeting options like country, city, region, or postal code. And also advanced location options. This is a very important factor. As you can see here, I've got target people only in your targeted location. So I only want to target people in the United Kingdom. So anyone who is in the UK searching with the keywords I have will see the ad. Now, if I was to set it to this one, which tends to be the default, people in or who show interest in your targeted location. So if someone in France, for example, uses google.co.uk domain and they're searching for services like my services in the UK, they will see my ad and likely click through. Now that may be fine for you, and you think, well, you do want to target people in France, you can leave it with this one. But in my case, I tend to want to work mainly with UK based clients, so I only target people in my targeted locations. But when I do run, as you can see, I called it a UK campaign. Sometimes I do target the US, and it's better to set up a US centric campaign specifically for that and not include it here. So these are the main ways to decide where to show your ads. And finally, devices. So in AdWords, you have three main device types. So you've got computers, which is desktops, mobile phones, which is smartphones, and tablets like iPads and so on. Generally, tablets usually have far less traffic than the others. Now, in this campaign, desktop is important because we want to target people or other businesses that are looking for Google AdWords services in this case. Now, if I was to decide, well, I don't want to target mobile phones anymore, so instead of just removing it, I can select it there and then click edit and then change bid adjustment, and I'll say decrease it by 100%, for example. That will totally prevent the ads from showing and so on, so it won't come up on mobile. Now you can do the same thing obviously over here if you wanted. The other thing is, if you decide that maybe mobile or maybe tablet is really good, you can click edit if you wanted, or come over here and increase it by maybe 40%, so bidding higher, so a £10 bid will become £14 and so on. So these are some of the main ways that you decide who sees your ads on what devices and so on, and it's important to include that. There's also time factors which you can look at in your settings, for example, and you can go to your start and end dates if you wanted, and decide maybe you don't want it running after a certain date and stuff like that. So these are some of the main ways you control who sees your ads and so on. And if you wanted, you could use ad scheduling and say, well, only people to see my ads Monday to Friday at specific times, and then you set it here. So these are the main ways that you determine where your ads are seen, when they're seen, and helps you to control your traffic. So here we'll be talking about your Google ads and why they're not showing when you do a search on Google. One mistake many advertisers make is when they launch their ads and they're running and so on, they tend not to look at their reports. They look on Google looking for their ads to see what they look like. And well, that makes sense, but there are many reasons why your ads may not show on Google, and you won't know how to sort of fix it. And the other problem of searching on Google Ads is every time you search, you are increasing your impressions and reducing your click-through rate. It may be once or twice a day, but when you count that through the months and the years and so on, as people keep searching, it reduces your click-through rate and reduces the performance of your ads. So there's a tool in Google that helps you to see what your ads look like in the search results, and even tells you if there's any problem and how to actually fix it. So that tool is under Tools, and it's known as the Ad Preview and Diagnosis tool, as you can see there. Now this is a very powerful tool, and when you do a search, for example, if you come in here and you can add your keywords that you want to search. These are based on the keywords that you have in your campaigns, and this just gives you some suggestions based on what's in the campaigns. Firstly, try and change the location, so make sure you're looking at the location that you want to see. So the other nice thing about this tool is you can get to see what your ads look like in a location that you're not in. So for example, if you're targeting the United States and you're in the UK, you may not be able to see your ads in the US if you search on Google, because you're not based in the US at that point. So this tool actually shows you what your ads look like in that location. Change language as well if you're using different languages, and you can change the device and see what your ads look like on desktop, mobile and tablet. So maybe we'll start with this keyword. Let's see if our ad is showing. So there you have it. Ad is not showing at this time, and it tells you for the different keyword match types that we have. So this is exact match and phrase match. So for the exact match, it tells us this candidate is not triggering ads to appear on Google right now due to a low ad rank. Ads are ranked based on your bid and quality score, and you can learn more, and it tells you for which campaign and ad group, and then you can learn more and look at that and see how you can fix it. And this one tells you there's another creative in the ad group that was selected over this one, and so on. So that helps you then go in and see what the issue is. So these are the results, and clearly our ad is not there. So maybe let's pick another one and go for, let's see, PPC freelancer, which I have in my campaigns, and there it shows us your ad is showing for the keyword PPC freelancer for this campaign and this ad group. And if we scroll down and look for ad, voila, there it is. That's my ad showing up. So it highlights it and it shows that it's in position, it's actually position 1 but below the organic results. And I also have a listing on the organic results, so my organic is slightly above my PPC ad. So it shows you that the ad is showing at this time and it's running successfully. So always refer to this tool if you've got any issues you're not seeing, and even if you're working with a client and they keep searching, just show them that this is where they can check their ads, and then it gives you ideas if there are any problems with your ads. So in this section we're looking at bid strategies that are available in your campaigns and at the account level. We will be first looking at the best practices when you're doing AdWords bidding, and we'll also look at manual versus automated bid strategies, which are the two bidding strategies that you have in your campaigns, and we'll look at the most effective bid strategy for your campaigns and which one you should be selecting, and at different stages of your advertising. And we'll also finally look at tips on AdWords bid management. So what should you be doing as you're advertising, and whether that's at the beginning or throughout your advertising. So those are the main lessons that we'll be covering, and let's get started. Now in this lesson we're looking at some best practices for your AdWords bidding, Now the first one is updating your low rank keywords. From time to time, when you go into your keywords tab, as I am here, you can see sort of the status of your keywords, and it will show you if some of your keywords are ranked below page 1 or sort of ranking on page 2 and beyond. And you can see it in the average position. Say maybe you've got 5.6 position or 6 point something. That in many cases is not very good, because the vast majority of people don't go beyond page 1, and many don't even look below the organic listings on page 1. So page 2, they're unlikely to ever see your ads, and that affects your click-through rate. It means you have low click-through rates, less clicks, and obviously less conversions. So the way you solve that really is your bid strategy. And if you're using a manual, for example, you can just come in and, as I am here, and then just increase it. So if, for example, it's telling me above all organic search results I need to be £10.60, above all other ads £17. So it just gives you an idea of what to do. And on the first page of search results, £6.21, so that will put you anywhere on the page, obviously at the bottom. So this helps you sort of change that manually and so on. The other option, obviously, if your keywords are ranked low, is to use an automated bid strategy, and that's going to get your keywords higher and obviously your ads. And that could be, there's a bid strategy to do that, to put your ads on page 1 or to put them at the top. So it's important that you bid higher. Also improve your quality scores, because that will mean you're going to pay less per click. And the next thing is, another best practice is don't overbid. Sometimes you will find that being in position 1 or 2 is really not necessary, especially if you're in an industry where even if you're on position 3, 4 or below the organic rankings, you will still get sufficient clicks and conversions at an even lower cost per conversion and a good conversion rate. So don't overbid, and look at your historic data and see what profitability you've been getting for different positions. So for example, mine on average at 3.2, and by looking at this I can look at my figures and it will tell me whether I'm making a profit or not. If I find being at the top is really important, then I can change the bid strategy and try and get a higher ranked position. But most cases, try and start lower and then improve and increase as you go along. Don't just go for position 1, position 2, because you will probably spend a lot of money, and you need to be careful about that. And another best practice is try and start with an automated bid strategy, because when you are starting, you're not sure what your bids are going to be, you're not sure what performance is going to be like. So you can allow the AdWords machine learning system to do that for you, and when you come into settings, you can change that, or you can set it to an automated bid strategy, as you can see here. I generally like to start with maximize clicks, because that works to get you as many clicks as possible for your budget. So those are some of the best practices to follow, and ultimately it depends on your goals and what you're looking to achieve and where you sit in the market and your budget and so on. Especially with overbidding, if you overbid and you've got a low budget, you're gonna be getting less clicks and you're gonna spend a lot of money and not get much return when you're managing your campaigns. So the question is, should you be using automated or manual CPC bidding? And in your AdWords campaigns, you'll have the option between the two when you're setting up, managing, and just working on your campaigns. So when you come into campaign settings, you can clearly see the two different options that you have. Manual bid strategy only has manual CPC, whereas automated bid strategies has at least 7. So there's a lot more going on there. And with the automated bid strategies, these are based on machine learning, Google's machine learning system that will bid for you and place bids based on what your goals are, whether it's conversions, clicks, impressions, and so on. So there are pros and cons with both options. And starting with automated bid strategy, one of the benefits is that you have it saves you a lot of time because it does the bidding for you. So for example, if you go for target cost per acquisition, you will say what you're willing to spend for each conversion that you get, and then the AdWords system, based on historic data in your account, will work on getting you those conversions at that acquisition cost, and so it will set the bids based on that. Obviously you don't want to set it too low because you're gonna miss out on some conversions, and you don't want to set it too high. So in many cases it will suggest a bid for you and you can just add it here. So that's one advantage of that. And you can also use a strategy that focuses on getting you as many clicks as possible, and maximize clicks will do that for you, and it set bids for you, and it's based on the budget that you have and the performance targets that you have. So if you've got £100 budget, as I have in this campaign on a daily budget, it will set those bids and try and get you as many clicks as possible and place you in the right positions for that. Also, if you're looking to outrank a specific competitor, you can go with target outranking share, and that just does all the bidding for you, so you don't have to check it all the time. You can check it once a week and so on, just to see how it's performing, but it will set the bids and try and get you to outrank one of your competitors. Say for example you choose example.com as your competitor, and then you can want to outrank them 100% of the time. So that saves you a lot of time. Now the cons with automated bid strategy is that you lose some control, because the AdWords system is the one that's determining what bids you're gonna get and even what positions you get, and sometimes that doesn't work too well for some advertisers, especially if you want to have more control. So in some cases you may want to separate some of your keywords and ads into their own campaigns and use a different bid strategy type like manual CPC, or just so you can have more control with it. And this brings us to manual CPC. Manual CPC just basically means you are the one that sets the bids, and you have much more control than an automated one. That obviously means you have to spend more time looking into your keywords and their performance and adjusting things based on performance, and you're not always going to get that right, and it's going to take up a lot of your time and so on. So those are factors to consider when you're using a manual CPC strategy. You can obviously click this button to say help increase conversions with enhanced cost per click, and that's combining a manual strategy with an automated one. So the combination of the two is good, so it will work to get more conversions for you. Obviously if you've got conversion tracking and you've been getting a good steady stream of conversions, the system sort of knows which are your best targeted search terms and ads and so on, and it bids accordingly. So those are the two bidding types that you have in AdWords. When you're starting, it's probably best to start with an automated one, because you're not sure what bids to set, what positions to have, and then allow the system to do that. And then after some time, if you want to gain more control and bid yourself, then change it to a manual CPC and maybe include enhanced CPC so it can assist you in that bidding. So those are the two and the differences that are available in your account. So in this video I'll be talking about the most effective bid strategy in AdWords. Now there are quite a number of bid strategies in AdWords. So when you come into your campaign and go to settings, as I am in my Google AdWords UK campaign, you can see I'm using a manual CPC. Now I can change that and go with the other bid strategies that are available. There's two types of bid strategies: automated bid strategies and manual bid strategies. Now your choice of which one to use and the most effective will depend on what your goals are. So when you're getting started, for example, I always find that maximize click is the most effective one, because you're not sure what bids to set and what positions sometimes you want. So you can allow the AdWords machine learning system to do the bidding for you. So you change that. You would use maximize clicks and put a bid cap if you want, maybe say £2 if you wanted. But what this bid strategy does is try to get you as many clicks for your budget, whatever your budget is. So this budget is £100 per day, and it will work to try and get you as many clicks for that. Now it also depends on what other goals you have. So for example, if you want to rank at the top, the most effective bid strategy in most cases will be target search page location, and you can use the top of the first results page option, and then it will try and get your ads right to the top and bid accordingly. Now to outrank a competitor and even get to the top, there's the most effective one tends to be target outranking share. Now with target outranking share, what you do is you pick one of your competitors and add their domain name. Let's say for example example.com is your competitor's domain name, so you'd add it there as the domain name to outrank, and then you say you want, maybe if you want to outrank them all the time, you say 100%, and I would advise you put a bid cap, because that can prove really expensive for both of you, and then give it a name and save it. So that's a strategy to outrank a competitor. Sometimes you may want to increase conversions and bid according to conversion. So the most effective ones for that will be your conversion type bidding strategies, which are known as smart bidding strategies. So that's target cost per acquisition, target return on ad spend, maximize conversions, and even enhance CPC. These will try and get you as many conversions as possible, or even improve your conversion value. So those are the most effective for your conversions. Now if you want more control in your bidding and you want to change bids yourself, manual CPC will work out as the best, because that gives you a lot more control. The only disadvantage is if you've got many keywords and ad groups and ads and so on, that can take up a lot of your time. But as I said, it gives you a lot of control in your bidding. So really the most effective bid strategy depends on what your goals are, what you're looking to achieve, and where you are with your bidding. In this lesson we are talking about AdWords bid management, and AdWords bid management really is about how you manage your bid strategy throughout your advertising. So when you launch your campaigns, as the campaigns are growing, when you are looking to change some of the structures and maybe move some keywords into different campaigns, move some ad groups and so on, some of those changes which are part of your ongoing management require also some change into your bid strategies. It's not possible to continue using the bid strategies. If you do, you lose out on many opportunities as you are managing your campaigns. And one of the tips I always tell a lot of my clients and people who are doing AdWords is try and start with a strategy that is easier for you to manage or gives you much more leverage. So I would say when you're getting started, and we'll go into settings now and look at our different bid strategies. You've obviously got automated and manual. So if you have a few keywords and a few ads, it's fine to start with the manual bid strategy, and that gives you control because you can quickly change bids and so on and stuff like that. But say you're running shopping campaigns and you've got hundreds or thousands of products and your product groups and ad groups, and if you're running many search campaigns and so on, you would be better off with an automated strategy, because the system will then bid according to your goals and so on, and that will depend on the automated bid strategy that you use. But so if you've got a few keywords, a few ad groups and so on, manual CPC is fine to start with, and you'll be easily able to make changes and do that for your ads. So if we come in here, as you can see, this is set to a manual CPC, and this was after I'd run some maximize conversions bid strategy before and maximize clicks when I actually started. But after some time I realized that there was a ceiling in the amount that I wanted to spend, and so I changed it to a manual CPC, and it has been working perfectly for these campaigns. So when you're starting, really consider where you are in terms of ads and so on, but in most cases you should try and go for an automated bid strategy, as you can see here. And perhaps, as I mentioned earlier, maximize clicks is the best, because it's going to try and get you as many clicks as possible for your budget. Maximize conversions is a good one to change to after that, but you would have had to have set up conversion tracking and then had sufficient number, is it 15 conversions per month, for the AdWords machine learning system to see what bids to actually set for those conversions and so on. So that's obviously depends on the stage that you're in. Also, the bid strategy you use should also be based on the goals that you have. And for example, if you've got a competitor and it's the two of you going up against each other, you would want a target outranking share strategy, especially if they're outbidding you, and you can use this to outbid one of your competitors. So you could call your competitor example.co.uk and say you want to outrank them maybe 80% of the time, and then put a cap of £3 to say you don't want to spend more than that. It's important to put that limit because it can really get expensive for both of you, and then give it a name and finally save it right there. So that's what you can do to outbid one of your competitors. So it really depends on your goals and what you're looking to do. So those are some of the really important things to be aware of as you're managing your campaigns. What's really important is that you look at your keywords and see how you're performing for your metrics. And if you find your average position, for example, is not good enough for you, so if 3.2 is too low, you can look to increase that and try and use one of the bid strategies to do that, maybe an automated one or manual CPC, because it allows you to bid manually and outrank those competitors. And look at your other metrics. If your click-through rate is low, maybe it's because your positions are too low, so you want to get higher positions. Generally, ads that are at the top get higher click-through rates because they're seen more, they're seen first, and then people click through to those. And if you want to reduce your cost per click, then maybe a manual CPC, because it gives you control and you set the bids and you can set it for whatever you like, and you can comfortably know that you're not gonna spend more than that. Or if you want, you look at your clicks or your impressions and find these are too low, and maybe your positions are too low. Again, try and outbid a competitor, or try and use the first of the search results page bidding strategy to rank higher, get more clicks and more impressions, and so on. In this section, we're going to be looking at budget setting for your campaigns in Google Ads, and we'll look at how you can decide on your AdWords daily budget, which obviously is set at the campaign level and can also set at the account level. We also look at what your monthly budget should be, and we're going to look at what the minimum AdWords budget is. Some people think Google has set a rule that you should have a minimum amount that you should spend in your campaign. So we'll look at that, and we will look at what a good budget is for a small business that's running a few ads and keywords and so on. So those are the main features and benefits that we're going to be looking at in this section. So let's get started. So deciding on your AdWords daily budget is one of those important things you should do as part of your campaign setup, management, and at various stages of your advertising. And this will help you reach the full potential of your campaigns and target all the important searches. Now, in your AdWords campaign settings, as you have here, budget setting is set on a daily basis. So this campaign, for example, has £100 daily budget, and that's the maximum that I want to pay for the traffic that I get. On some days you may pay more, maybe by 30%, and that's mainly because the AdWords system sort of optimizes your budget for days which you have lower traffic. It will spend less, but on some days it will spend more if traffic is a lot more. But you won't spend more than your daily budget multiplied by 30.4, which is the average number of days in the month, assuming you are advertising 24/7, or whatever number of days multiplied by your daily budget. So your card or your bank details won't be charged more than that. So deciding what your daily budget should be should obviously be something you're comfortable spending, and you should look at the different searches and keywords and look at the volumes and the potential of those keywords. Also think about how much you want to spend over the course of a month. So if you want to advertise 20 days in the month and you want to spend £200, for example, for the month, then you divide that by 20 days and you spend £10 per day. So it just depends on how much budget you have for the month, and you divide that by the number of days, and then you set your budget and add it right here. And also, look at your current AdWords spend. If you're running any campaigns, well, how much are you spending? Is your budget limited? For example, are there a lot more impressions available for your campaigns? If you find that there's a lot more, then maybe you need to increase your daily budget, and that will sort of help you get as much traffic as possible and increase your conversions and your conversion rates. You can always check with your competitive reports to see how much impressions you're getting compared to your competitors. So if you add the search lost impression share budget, and this is the search impression share and lost impression share because of rank, these show you how much impressions you actually have and how much you are losing because of sometimes a low budget or a low ad rank. So for example, this ad group has an impression share of 80.857%, but it's losing impressions because of rank of 15.96%, and it's losing impressions because of low budget of 3.17%. So you can increase to get to 100% search impression share. You can increase your budget and also increase your positions, and then get more impressions and more clicks and so on. So that will determine what budget to set, and you can do that obviously at the campaign level and work that out for your campaigns. So in this lesson, we're talking about what your AdWords monthly budget should be. Now, you know that budgets are set on a daily basis. So you set your daily budget, and that's obviously divided by the number of days in the month that you want to be appearing for your ads and so on. So for example, if you want to appear for all the days in the month, then and you've got a certain budget, a monthly budget, you divide that by 30.4, which is the average number of days in a month. But if you're just looking to do it Monday to Friday, that would be, suppose, about 22, 23 or something days like that. So if you go into settings, that's where you would change your daily budget in AdWords. You can obviously do it at the campaign level, or you can use shared library if you wanted, and assign one budget to all your campaigns. So coming up with a monthly budget, the total you want to spend per month really depends on a number of factors. So the first one is obviously conduct some keyword research, because that's going to tell you the potential volume that you can expect, and in some cases the traffic volumes may be too low, so even with a high budget you're not going to get a lot of clicks and so on for whatever keywords you have. Or sometimes you find there's a lot of traffic for the keywords you have, and then you can set a budget based on that. That will also tell you what suggested bid to assign, and if the competition is high, then it's likely you need to pay to put in a higher budget to see some substantial return for your campaign. So first thing, conduct some keyword research. Also do some competitor research. Look into your competitors and what they're bidding on. I mean, there are tools like SE ranking and Spy Food that help you set those. Look at what your competitors are bidding on, where their positions are, and then you can see what keywords they have, and then you can add those in your campaigns if they are relevant. So that also helps you decide on what budget to set, because in many cases you can see what they're paying on average per month. The other thing to consider is what positions you want. Generally, higher positions mean that you have to bid higher, and you probably need a higher budget, so you would change that in there. So when you do the keyword research, for example, when you look at the keywords that we have here, the average CPC is £10.28. So a budget of £300 per month won't get you that many clicks. I mean, you would probably need to spend over £1,000 to get a substantial number of clicks for that kind of budget. But if you're spending less than £1, maybe £300 could be okay to start with, and then you increase it as you go along. So your positions and the average CPC and so on will determine what budget you should set. You can certainly start with a test budget to see what likely returns you'll get, but the problem with test budget is that it doesn't allow you to target the wide range of searches available, and it's in the wide range of searches that you will find your search terms that have better conversion rates than others. And if you don't have a sufficient budget, you may actually be blocking that small number of searches which have really good conversions, and you're going for many others that have good clicks and so on, but the conversion rate is not good because of the nature of the search. The other factor is how many campaigns you have. So if you've got one campaign, you can set one budget and so on. And if you've got many campaigns, it means sometimes you're spreading yourself too thinly. So probably need a higher budget for that. But there is no rule to say you need a certain number of campaigns and so on. That's really up to you. You can have one, you can have 20, but 20 generally means you need a higher budget than you would for just one. So those are some of the factors that will help you decide on what your monthly budget is going to be, and take that into consideration. Do the keyword research, find out what the suggested bids are, what positions you're likely to get, what competitors are bidding on, and then decide on your monthly budget based off of that. Now, some advertisers will ask, what's the minimum AdWords budget? And the reason they ask that is because some think maybe there's a rule that Google has set that you should have a minimum budget that you set in your campaigns. The reality is you can set any budget you like, and Google doesn't have a rule on that. There isn't a fixed budget in AdWords that you should set. So you can spend whatever you want, set whatever budget you like, and when you come into your campaign settings, as budget is set on the per day basis, you sort of change it in here. If you wanted, you could set it to £1 or anything like that. The problem though now is if your budget is too low, you're gonna get very few clicks, very few conversions, and if you set it very low, like £1 a day, you're likely that your ads are not going to show up, especially if the average CPC is higher than £1. So you want to set something reasonable, and that's obviously going to be based on the research that you do. Now, if you set £1 and your average cost per click is 10p, and that means you get 10 clicks per day, that's fine, and that's okay. But as I mentioned, if your average CPC is high and higher than £1, you're not going to get any traffic and so on. Budget is one of the reasons why poor budget is one of the reasons why many campaigns fail. And if your budget is too low, you will never see the full potential of your campaigns, because some of the in any group of searches, there is usually a smaller number of searches that will have the best conversion rate, and it's those searches that you want to get. Some of the other searches you have will be informational searches. They may not be transactional, and they'll represent many sort of clicks and volumes and so on, and maybe help in introducing people to the business. But there's a smaller number of searches which will bring the best conversions for you, and it relates to the Pareto principle that 20% of your efforts bring 80% of the results, and it applies here as well. So it's important that you have a really good budget that you're setting. Obviously Google doesn't dictate what that budget should be. It's all up to you, and you can set it to whatever you want. But you can start with the test budget. Obviously start with £10 a day, £20, and then as things improve, you can increase that to £50, £100 as you see your conversions and sales coming in. Now in this lesson, we're talking about a good AdWords budget for a small business. What is it? It really depends on a number of factors, and as a small business, you likely have a small budget to start with, and maybe increase it as your sales improve and you get more leads and so on. But it's always important, whether you're small or large business, to have a sufficient budget, because that will really help you reap the benefits of AdWords advertising. Now, the first thing obviously is, when you're looking at what budget to set for your AdWords campaigns as a small business is your level of competition. Who are you competing against? And you can start by looking at your auction insights report, and this gives you sort of an indication of how many impressions you are sharing with your competitors, as you see here, and what your average positions are relative to your competitors. And obviously these are your competitors coming up, and you is basically you, and these are the others. And then the top of page rate shows you this competitor, for example, Push Group, has 65% top of the page when they're appearing with my ads. So it's this level of detail that's going to help you decide where you want to sit and what budget you're going to set. And when you've got this data, you can then take that and change your bid strategy to try and probably get more position, and which means obviously more budget and so on. Also coming in here gives you an indication of who your competitors really are. You can copy these and open them, and if you're not aware of some of them, just study their websites and see who they are, how big are they small players, and so on. So that helps you to decide on your budget. And the next thing to decide on your budget as a small business is the average cost per click. If you're starting in AdWords and you haven't been advertising, you won't really know what your average cost per click is going to be. But when you do your keyword research, it's gonna suggest a bid for some of the keywords that you find, and that's going to affect the average cost per click that you pay, and obviously that's going to affect your budget. If your suggested bids are higher than you expected, or just high in general and with a lot of competition, then you really need a higher budget to make a success of it. So start with your keyword research and look at the suggested bids and what they are. Another factor is how many clicks and impressions do you want to get per day, per week, per month, because that affects how many sales and conversions and leads you're gonna get, and that then affects your budget. So you can obviously use the keyword research tool, which is the keyword planner tool, which will show you what suggested bids are and how many clicks you're likely to get for the budgets that you have. So that's an important factor, because if, for example, you want 100 clicks per month and the average conversion rate in the industry is 3%, it means for every 100 clicks you're going to get 3 sales or leads or whatever action that you want to achieve. And if that's too low, then it means you need to increase your budget to get more clicks, maybe increase it to 500 or something like that. So that's really important. Also, your desired ad position. What positions do you want? Do you want top position? Do you always want to be right at the top, 1.0? Then definitely that will determine what your budget is going to be. As I said, you can start by testing things out. Then based on whatever bids you set, if you find you're not at the top and your budget is still not limited, you can increase those positions. But in most cases, higher positions means more click-through rate and more costs, which means you need a higher budget. So your positions do determine that. Lower positions, 4 point something, 5 point something, you generally spend less than ads that are at the top. Obviously everything else being sort of equal, like quality scores and so on. Another factor is your conversion targets. How many conversions are you looking to get per month? If you want hundreds or thousands, that may not be realistic for the budget you have. If you've got a £200 budget and you're looking to get 200 calls per month and you're offering a service, that's probably not realistic. So maybe you need to increase that to £2,000 and then look at what your return on investment is likely to be and work that into your forecast and then set your budgets accordingly. So those are some of the factors to the small budgets for small business. It's always a challenge when you're starting or as the business is looking to grow and deciding what budgets to set, but getting it right will help you to achieve your goals and make a big impact for your business. Now in this section we will be looking at click-through rate and what it is and how to improve it. So we'll first look at what AdWords click-through rate is, and then we'll look at why it's important to have a click-through rate and how that affects all the other areas of your campaigns and your account and your overall advertising. We'll also look at what a good AdWords click-through rate and how it differs for different industries and different sectors, and obviously looking at your sector, what is a good AdWords click-through rate and what should you be aiming for. And we're finally going to look at how to improve your AdWords click-through rate, some of the very good ways that you can improve it and just improve the overall performance of your campaigns. So let's get started. So in this lesson we're talking about AdWords click-through rate. So what is click-through rate or CTR? The definition, the formula for CTR is clicks divided by impressions, and this basically shows you how many people who saw your ad actually clicked on it. So for example, if you've got 100 people who saw your ad and 3 of them clicked on it, then that's a 3% click-through rate. And you can see click-through rate for your ads, your keywords, your campaigns and your ad groups. And when I go into my keywords tab for this campaign, it gives me an average click-through rate for my keywords of 2.32%, as you can see. So basically that means some click-through rates are higher than that, some are lower, and so on. And this is the keyword click-through rate. Click-through rate is not just a metric for AdWords. You find it with email marketing, Facebook ads, and many others, but it's one of those primary metrics that you should keep an eye on because it shows you how relevant your ads are. If you've got search campaigns with click-through rates below 1%, then it's a sign that your ads probably need some improving and you probably need to make the search terms and keywords more targeted and so on. So is one way. There are many ways to look at click-through rate, and looking at it at your keywords is very important, but it's also important to look at the actual search term click-through rate, because search terms are what people actually search with and keywords is what you've put in your campaign. So when your keywords and the search terms that people are using match, then your ad is triggered and then people click through. So it's common to find many search terms for one keyword, and if you really want to improve your click-through rates, then you should look into the search terms report, and you will find some have got 100%, but some are very low, 0%, and may not be very targeted, so you may want to remove them. So that is click-through rate in a nutshell, and it's a metric you should continuously work on to make sure your ads and your keywords are related and targeted. Now in this lesson we'll be talking about why you should have a high click-through rate. And click-through rate is an important metric that you should be tracking for your campaigns and always looking to improve, and that will sort of help you make sure you have relevant and targeted ads and people are more likely to click through to your site and purchase or contact you and any other important action. Now the first reason why you should have a high click-through rate is that it helps you improve your quality scores, and quality score is a metric that shows how targeted your ads and your landing pages are, and one of the factors, which is expected click-through rate, is affected by the actual click-through rate. So expected click-through rate looks at historic click-through rates and then puts suggestion in what the click-through rate is likely to be, and that is factored into your quality scores. So it's important to have a high click-through rate because it impacts your quality scores, and quality scores, when they're really good, helps you to spend less on your campaigns and you achieve higher positions, higher ad rank, and so on. So another factor is it helps you to increase web traffic. Now, if you look at the click-through rate here, which is showing as interaction rate, but is actually similar to click-through rate, it shows you various click-through rates for different campaign types. So that's a search campaign, display, and a search campaign. So search campaigns generally have higher click-through rates because people are actually searching for those products and they are not just browsing third-party websites. And when they see that your ads are relevant, they will click through, and that just increases your web traffic, and it overall just helps you to get more conversions. Generally, the more clicks you get, the more impressions you get, it usually means more conversions and even better conversion rate because you're targeting a wider range of searches, and usually only a fraction of those will have good conversion rates, whereas other searches will be introductory searches. So you want to target a wider range and appeal to a wide range of people. So the click-through rate is going to help you do that, especially if you're in the top positions. And as mentioned, it helps you improve conversions. The more clicks you get, the more you're likely to get more people purchasing. And obviously that means more cost, and you have to factor that in. And it means you may need to put a higher budget and so on. But overall, in the long run, it does help as you optimize your campaigns. Also, it helps to improve, it actually helps you achieve higher rankings. If your click-through rates are good, as mentioned, it goes into your quality score, which then factors into your ad rank, and then you see your ads achieving position 1 and 2, usually above the organic result. Even if it's below the organic result, you're still outranking many of your competitors. So those are some of the reasons why you need a high click-through rate, and a metric that you should be continuously working on to improve your campaigns. So the question is often asked, what is a good AdWords click-through rate? And the truth is, it really depends on a number of factors, and one of them is the campaign type that you are looking at, and also the products and services that you're promoting, and the nature of the industry that you're in. And when we look at the campaign types, especially search campaigns, you tend to find that search campaigns have higher click-through rates than display campaigns. So anything above 1% with search campaigns is acceptable, and 5% and above is good. But that also depends on what industry you're looking at. For example, if you're promoting a service and you've got 1.2%, that's not a very good click-through rate. You'll be looking to get it to 3%, 5% and more. Maybe if you're a local plumber and accountant and those kind of industries where searches tend to be lower in volume than e-commerce and retail search keywords. But if you're promoting products and you're looking for people to buy, there's a varied number of ways that people search on Google for those kind of products, where there's part numbers and different colors and all various features that go into it. So those click-through rates, even on search, tend to be low. And as long as the conversion rates are good, then it's acceptable. But when you start looking at brand searches, so searches for your products or actually your company, or even yourself, if you're a personal brand, anything above 10% is possible and is good. and anything below 5% is not very good. So it really depends on the search terms themselves and the people who are actually searching. Now with display campaigns, click-through rates below 1% are quite common even for remarketing campaigns, and because people are not specifically searching, they are on third-party websites or apps, so they will see your banner ad or your text ad, and they may just ignore it, as people do with those kind of adverts and so on. But if you can achieve above 1% for display and remarketing, then it shows your ads are really targeted, and that's good. For other campaign types like shopping as well, that is quite similar to search, so you will find click-through rates differ for those as well. And for your shopping campaigns, try and aim above 3%. If there's any searches that are very low and have very low conversions, then you should probably remove them, because even the bounce rates would normally be high and they would not normally be good for you. So those are the different scenarios that you need to take into consideration as you're working on your AdWords click-through rate, and basically the industry you're in and the search terms and campaign types that you are using. So in this lesson, we're talking about how to improve your AdWords click-through rate. Now, click-through rate is one of those important metrics for your campaigns, and it's important that you achieve high click-through rates, because that affects the overall performance of your campaigns, including clicks and quality scores and expected click-through rate and your ad rank. So certainly it's one of those metrics that you should constantly work on, and with time, when you work on it, you will start to see many other metrics improve as well, including your conversions. Now, one of the first things you can do to improve click-through rates is to gain higher positions. Generally, ads that appear at the top of the Google search results generally will have higher click-through rate, and if your ads are appearing in the top 4 positions, you will have a lot more exposure and you will get many people seeing the ad and they're likely to click. So try to aim for maybe something around 3.2 or 2 point something, or even 1 point something if possible. Obviously, the higher your positions are, the more it's probably going to cost you. So you can clearly see it here for this keyword. For example, it's got a higher position and the average CPC is higher too than the others over here, 13.83. So position really is important, but it also helps to improve your click-through rates. As you can see, the ad with a higher click-through rate, in this case with a higher position, has a higher click-through rate, 4.66%. So top positions like 1.6 definitely get you better click-through rates and also higher costs as well. Another way to improve click-through rate really is remove any keywords with low click-through rate. So if you're running search terms, search campaigns for example, and you find some of your click-through rates too low for you, then maybe below 1%, especially for search campaigns like you'd have with this one, 0.74%, you probably need to remove it if the conversions are not good and if it's not really targeted. And as you can see, the average position is 4.1 and hence the lower click-through rate. But sometimes that keyword is not very related to the ads that you're running, so you probably want to remove it. Another factor to improve your click-through rates really is to go into your search terms report, because your search terms actually show you the actual searches that people are doing, and it differs slightly from the keywords. With the keywords, you would add match type, so you have your phrase, your exact match, modified broad, and your broad match, and those determine when your ads appear. So if you're finding some searches have very low click-through rates, for search terms, anything below 10% in most cases is not very targeted, because you generally have a lot more searches than you do with keywords, and that's why it's common to see high click-through rates for some search terms, as you would have here. This is a long tail keyword, AdWords consultant, hourly rate UK. So go into your search terms report and remove any that are not relevant and have low conversions, and you see that improve. Also remove ads with low click-through rates. So some of your ads will, maybe in each ad group you should aim to have between 3 to 5 ads, and when you look at some of those click-through rates, you're going to find some ads with very low ones. Now it depends on how you've set your settings in your campaign settings, actually, in how who decides on which ad to show and so on. If the AdWords system is the one that decides based on performance, then you can leave it to run. But if you've decided to run it yourself and optimize it yourself, then you need to remove any ads that have low click-through rate and overall low performance. And also look at adding more ad extensions. So add more site links, call outs, call location, and so on. And the more you add, that pushes up your ads in the rankings. And ad extensions just make your ad have more prominence in the search results, and when people see that, they're likely to think this is relevant to what we're looking for, and then click through and go to your site. And finally, try and have your keyword in the ad itself. So if this is example an AdWords expert ad group, so the keywords are related to AdWords expert, and we have it in there in the headline one, especially in headline one, because when people see that, they're likely to click. And here I use the dynamic keyword insertion syntax, so it updates the ad based on the keyword that triggered the search term, and that makes it more relevant for each search term that people use, and then they will click on your ad, and you'll see very good click-through rates off of that. Now in this section we will be looking at keywords and keyword research, and we will look at how many keywords you should have in each of your ad groups. That's an important factor to your quality scores and other important metrics that you're tracking. We'll also look at why keyword research is important and why you should do it at the beginning and throughout your advertising, and how you should do it. And we'll look at how you can do keyword research in Google Ads, which is one of a number of ways that you can carry out keyword research. And we'll look at how to find negative keywords. So negative keywords are important because they block searches that are not relevant for your business, and it's important that you block them. And finally, we'll look at which keyword match types to use, whether it's phrase, exact, modify, broad, or broad match, and when to use them at different stages of your advertising. So let's get started. So in this lesson, we'll be talking about how many keywords you have in each ad group. The number of keywords you have in your ad groups will determine how well your campaigns and ad groups perform. If you've got too few keywords, the AdWords machine learning system will take quite a while to understand your services or your products, and it will become harder for you to optimize it effectively. In fact, for charities that run Google Ad grants, Google states in their rules that they should have more than 5 keywords in the ad group. So that should also apply to other advertisers and so on. So how many should you, what is the ideal really? It's actually between 5 and 15. Anything above 15, you're now starting to include possibly many keywords that are not relevant. So try and keep it within that 5 and 15 keywords, and all the keywords should sort of be related and you can have different match types in there, as I have here: modify, broad, exact, phrase match, and so on. And as time goes, you can add more into your campaigns. Having that sort of between 5 and 15 helps you to achieve good quality scores and good click-through rates, because one of the factors to those metrics doing well is that you have your keyword in the ad, especially in the headline. So if you have it in there, people are more likely to click. And if you've got many keywords, say you got 30, 40, it's nearly impossible to have those primary keywords in the ad. So it's best probably to split them out. So keep it between 5 to 15 keywords for your search campaigns. As a Google AdWords advertiser, you will need at some point to do some keyword research, and that will be at different times of your advertising, whether it's at the beginning of your campaigns, in between as you're running them, and as you're looking to sort of scale your campaign and bring in more traffic and so on. So there's different times that you do keyword research, and you sometimes do it in different ways. Sometimes in Google AdWords with the keyword planner tool, as we have here, or with other tools like Word Tracker and so on. And even using Google itself, you can do some keyword research there, and it will give you some suggestions. So keyword research is important, and I'll just talk briefly about why. Firstly, it helps you to find good keywords. When you're starting, you may know some words that you want to bid on, but that is nowhere near enough in terms of how many keywords you need to bid on. In most cases, most advertisers need hundreds or even thousands of keywords to bid on, depending on the budgets and so on. So you won't know all the various ways that people search. So you need to use a tool that will help you find that. And I mean, you can scour some landing pages and look around and check, but using the keyword research will help you to find many good keywords which you may not have thought of. In fact, according to Google, about 15% of searches on their site each day are totally new to them. So they've never seen them before. And if you don't do any research, you will never know some of those keywords, because people search in all kinds of ways. Another reason why keyword research is important, because it helps you to estimate traffic volumes. So you can see what you're likely to get for your keywords, and that will help you decide which keywords to go with. Some keywords have zero volume, some have got hundreds, some have got thousands, and by looking at that, you can see maybe the ones with thousands have got too much competition. So you can look at that, and it will estimate the traffic based on historic data, and then you just make your choices based on your budget and your suggested bid. And also, why it's also important is because it helps you to estimate costs. So you can use the keyword planner tool to do some forecasting, and you can look to see what you're likely to pay going forward. This is the forecasting tool, and that will help you decide what budget to set and whether it will be ideal for your campaigns and what return you will get. Another reason why keyword research is important, because it helps you to look into your competitors' keywords and see what they're bidding on. There are tools like Spyfu, SEranking.com that help you find your competitors' keywords. And even if you're not able to use those tools, just by using the keyword planner tool in Google, you can see a lot of keywords that obviously with volume, they're obviously advertisers that are appearing for them. So you can use some of those in your own campaigns and use the different match types that are available to you to target them. So in this lesson, we're going to look at the keyword research tool in Google Ads, which is known as Keyword Planner. So to get to the tool, you click on Tools, and then under Planning, you click on Keyword Planner. and this sort of brings up the two options that you have. The first one is to find keywords, so get keyword ideas that help you reach the people who will be interested in your products or services. Or if you already have a list of keywords, you can see their volume and forecast and so on. So if we want to do some keyword research, we start with that, and it will show us history of keywords we've done. So let's look for PPC expert and put a comma, and then it saves it. AdWords expert, these are the keywords I use a lot, and AdWords specialist, and it gives you a maximum of 3. So there we have it. It doesn't like that one. Okay, let me go again. AdWords expert, then AdWords specialist, and there we have it. So once we have that, we can then click on get started, and then it starts searching for those keywords, and what it brings up is historic data over the last, I'll say 12 months, showing you total and mobile. I guess it shows you mobile because mobile has become so important in searches over the years, and Google is more serious about advertisers making the most of that. So this is a basic table. It's a nice interface and makes more sense than the older interface that was before. So it shows you the average monthly volumes of your searches, and you can organize those by volume if you want, the level of competition, and add impression share that I'm currently getting at the moment for these keywords, and it shows you top of page bids, what you need to bid to get to the top. As you can see, this is competitive, £15.63, and top of page bids, the higher range is £28.73. So it also then shows you it's actually in the account. So these are in my AdWords account. And then you can also look into, these are search volume trends over the last 12 months. You can look into the platforms. So these are your devices: mobile 12%, desktop 85%, tablet 2.1%, and then set those accordingly based on your industry and what you know about how people search and on which devices they usually convert on. And then you can also look at it by location. So this is targeting the UK. So the countries in the UK: England 88%, which makes sense because of population figures, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and so on. So you may choose to just advertise in England, or just capture Scotland with the Scottish campaign and try and get highest positions for that. It just depends on what you want to achieve. And then if you want, you can click on each of them and then add to a new ad group, or if you want, add them to a plan. So maybe later come back to your plan, and in this section we can see our plan overview that we've just added those keywords. So it brings us over here and it shows us some information about these keywords. Not a lot that's showing over here, but if we go to ad groups, we can change the date if we wanted. Okay, these are in an ad group. If you wanted, you could then add these to your campaigns and so on. So you can change the date on this if you wanted. Obviously this is September 2008 and that hasn't happened yet, so we can say all time, and yeah, so it's not giving us any metrics for that. But whatever keywords you use, sometimes you can add them here and it will show you the different metrics, and you can go into the ad group itself and see what's taking place. Normally when I do keyword research, I don't normally add them to the plan instantly. I just select them and add them to my ad groups to create a new ad group. especially if I want to increase volumes by targeting keywords I'm not already advertising with. So that's the keyword research tool. You can play around with it. It's new and it's looking good. The interface is impressive and should help you to do what you need to do. So if you're looking to build your negative keyword list and block any searches that are not relevant, there's a number of ways to do that. And if you're already running campaigns, the first place I would suggest you look is in your search terms report. So in your campaign, if you click on search terms, this is under your keyword section, and it shows you all the various searches that your keywords are getting, and then next to each of them you can see the actual keyword that triggered it. So these are the searches. Now looking at that, you can clearly see which ones are relevant and which ones are not for your campaign. So if you find this one is not relevant, you can select it and add it as a negative keyword, and that will block it from appearing in future searches. Now the only problem with this method is that, can you see, it only had one impression, which led to one click, which is 100% click-through rate. So that's not a lot of traffic to add that as it is. Possibly a better option is to actually pick the word that you don't like. So maybe you don't like that word, copy it, and you can come to your negative keyword section and then just add it in there as a negative keyword. So that will probably be a better option for you. So your search terms report is really where you'll find many searches that are not relevant. The other option is obviously when you're doing your keyword research with the keyword planner tool over here, you will do your research and find the keywords you like. But as you're doing keyword research, you will find a lot of keywords that look relevant, but because of your knowledge of the industry, you will know that they are not relevant to what you need. So the best thing is just to take them and come into your negative keyword section and add them there as negative keywords. The other option is you can add them in your shared library for your negative keywords. So you come to negative keyword lists right here, and then create a list and then assign it to as many campaigns as you like, and that will save you a lot of time. So those are the two primary ways to do your negative keyword research when you're starting and you use a keyword research tool. And even as you go along, you can still use the keyword research tool to find negative keywords. And also in your search terms report, you will find many searches that are not relevant, and then add them and block them from future campaigns. Now there are 4 keyword match types in Google Ads, and that is phrase match, exact match, modified broad match, and broad match. Now in this campaign you can see we have phrase match with the quotation marks, and exact match with the brackets, modified broad match with the plus sign before any words that you deem to be important for your ads. And the 4th one is broad match. So broad match would look something like this. So it has no features that go with it, no brackets, no quotation marks or anything like that. So that's broad match, and it serves a different purpose from the other ones. So phrase match keywords like this one here with the quotation mark basically targets searches which have the words in this exact order, and those searches can have another word before it and another one after it, or more words after that, but the search should have these 2 words in this exact order. And it also targets close variants, so maybe PPC contractors in Milton Keynes, for example, will still come up. That's the plural of this one. So it's a very close variant, and it will trigger the search term, but basically the search terms should be in this exact order, and that's when the ad will be triggered. Now exact match, as you can see here with the brackets, only targets searches which have these two words in this exact order. So no words before, no words after, and no, these two should be in this exact order in the search. Now it also targets will show for very close variants, like PPC contractors or something that's slightly different but doesn't lose the meaning. So as long as those two words are in it and in that order, it will come up. Then the third one is modify broad match with the plus sign. So the plus sign just tells the AdWords system that any word with the plus before it is important and should appear in the search. So these two words should appear in every search that will trigger the ad. If somebody searches with the word contractor but PPC is not in the search, then the ad will not be triggered. So that's how modify broad match works. The words can be in any order, so it can be contractor and then PPC and so on. So the order doesn't really matter, but the words should be in the search that triggers the ad. And then broad match basically targets all kinds of searches, and it will appear, your ads will appear for words that just have PPC, even just contractor, and synonyms, words which are closely related. So pay-per-click contractor and so on will trigger the ad if you've got broad match. And with broad match, it's important that you've got negative keywords, because it will target many long tail searches, and sub you'll find not to be very relevant. So you need to go into your search terms reports over here and sort of add them, get them and add them to your negative keywords over there. So those are the main match types. And when you're starting, I would say start with, depending on the industry and what budgets you have and so on, but try and start with phrase match and exact match. Then later you can add modify broad match, and then you can just open the floodgates and go for broad match and target a wide range of searches later when you've built your negative keyword list and you've got a bigger budget to target a wider range of searches. So in this section we're talking about quality scores, and this is such an important diagnostic tool to help improve your campaigns. So some of the things we'll be looking at include how to check your quality scores, the various places to check them, and how to optimize your reports so that you can see them more effectively. We'll also look at what's a good quality score. So that is something that you should know as you work on your quality scores and look to improve them. And we'll look at how to improve your quality scores and get them to 10 out of 10 quality score. 10 out of 10 is the highest, and it shows that ads, landing pages and keywords are all working effectively together. So let's get started. So in this lesson we'll be looking at the two main places you can check your quality scores. Quality score is a keyword metric, and it's more of a diagnostic tool. So it shows you what issues your keywords have, obviously based on the ads in your campaigns, and it sort of helps you fix those issues. And if they're good, then you can always just leave them as they are and just focus on other metrics as you optimize your campaigns. The first one is in the keywords tab, as I have here. So we have our keywords running on the left, and under the status column we have the status of each of those. So we can see the quality score is 10 out of 10, and it's 10 out of 10 because expected click-through rate, ad relevance and landing page experience are all above average. So that's one place you can check your quality scores, and if there are any issues there, you can know which of those three factors to fix. The other place is in your same place. What you need to do is go to columns and add sections for your quality scores and the different factors. So you can modify columns for your keywords and click on columns right there. By default, these will not be selected, so I've selected quality score, ad relevance, landing page experience, and I also select expected click-through rate. You can also look at historic, which will go back some time based on the last quality score calculation, and then you just click apply. And what that does then is brings it up in your report, and if we scroll over here, we can see there's our quality score columns there. You can see at a glance for each of your keywords, and then you can see the other factors like your ad relevance, landing page experience, and expected click-through rate, and then work on fixing each of those. This will probably be easier to look at, and you can download it into your reports, and then maybe use filters and then work on the ones with below average of these factors. So if we scroll down, we can see some factors will have below average. For example, this keyword for expected click-through rate, so maybe that's something that needs to be fixed and worked on. So those are the places to check your keyword quality scores. So in this lesson, we'll be talking about what a good quality score is. Quality score as a keyword metric is one of those important metrics that you need to work on, and it basically is an aggregate of the three main factors to your quality scores. So if we look at the status of each keyword, we are able to see what the quality scores are. So for example, that keyword AdWords expert has a quality score of 8 out of 10, and that will be a score that will come about because of the three main factors: expected click-through rate, ad relevance, and landing page experience. So in this case, these two, ad relevance and landing page experience, are very good, and expected click-through rate is average, so you sort of want to improve on that. So the question is, what is a good quality score? Generally anything above 6 out of 10 is good. So 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and 10 out of 10 is good. 10 out of 10, I suppose, is excellent, and that's what you should be aiming for your keywords. Now 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 is average, and you can do well with those kind of scores, but in time you need to improve them and work on those three factors to improve your quality scores. And then anything below 5 out of 10, so anything between 1 out of 10 to 4 out of 10 should be improved. It's generally poor, and you should work. It shows that there's something wrong either on the landing pages, on the ads, and so on, as they relate to the keywords, and you need to work on and prove those. However, remember, quality score is a diagnostic tool. It's like the warning signal in your car as you drive it. It just tells you that something needs to be fixed. Now, I see campaigns that do well for conversions and sometimes have low quality scores or average quality scores. So you don't want to optimize those and just focus on the quality score, because that will affect the conversions. But it's something you need to work on with time and improve. And just see it as a diagnostic tool to help you work on your ads and your landing pages and your keywords. So anything above 6 out of 10 should be what you're aiming for, and ultimately to get as many as possible into the 10 out of 10 bracket. So in this video, we'll be talking about how to improve your quality scores and get them to that excellent level of 10 out of 10. Now, there are three factors to your quality scores, which are ad relevance, expected click-through rate, and landing page experience. And working on those three will help to improve your quality scores. Quality score along with your bid is what affects your ad rank, but it's more ad quality than quality score according to Google. So you should be looking to work on those three factors. Your quality score is an aggregate of those three factors, and you should always look to improve them. So it's working on your ads as they relate to your keywords and the search terms which trigger them, and your landing page. This is where people get to and engage with your ads and so on. So if we look at this keyword, for example, with a quality score, and it shows us that it has the three factors there: expected click-through rate, which is average; ad relevance, above average; landing page experience, above average. So say for example all these were below average, below average, below average. So expected click-through rate, we would have to improve that. We would need to work on our actual click-through rate by making our keywords very relevant to the ads that we have. So when someone searches, our match types will control which keyword triggers the ad, and it's important that those are very close related. And some ways of doing that is making sure you've got between 5 and 15 keywords in each ad group, and they're all tightly themed and they are very relevant to each other. So don't include keywords that are not related, because that's going to affect your click-through rate, which then affects your expected click-through rate, which is like a forward-looking forecast of your click-through rate. So make sure your ad groups are tightly themed. Now, another mistake people make is think, well, if I increase my bids and get a top ranking position, my click-through rate is going to be good, and therefore it's going to improve my quality scores. No, actually, Google normalizes your expected click rate based on your position. So it's expected that ads that are at the top will have a better click-through rate than those at the bottom. So it factors that in when it's calculating it. So don't bid higher expecting that it's going to improve your quality scores. No, that's not going to improve it. It's more of really tightly themed ad groups which have relevant ads and keywords in them. The next is ad relevance. So if this is below average or it's just average, look to improve the ad itself. Try and include the person's search term or keyword in the ad, especially in headline 1. People are likely to click through if they see that, and that will improve your ad relevance, and you'll start to see increase in click-through rates and generally a better performance for conversions and the quality of traffic that you get. And finally, landing page experience is basically how engaged people are. If your bounce rates are high and people are not purchasing and they're not engaged on the site, you're going to have a below average landing page experience, which is very critical, because you can get people to click on the ad, but if they're not taking action on your site, then you're losing money. So work on your landing page experience and make sure that it's great and it's above average, and that's going to help you get 10 out of 10 quality scores. And when you have very high quality scores like 10 out of 10, as you see with this keyword Google AdWords Expert, it's above average for every factor, and that just gets you better positions for a lower cost. And even if you bid higher, you're gonna get better positions, and in many cases you're gonna outperform your competitors. So always aim to get those excellent quality scores as best you can. Now in this section we're going to be looking at conversion tracking, what it is and why it's important to set it up. So we'll look at what PPC conversion tracking is and how it works in Google AdWords. And we'll also look at how to set up AdWords conversion tracking. So this is the conversion tracking templates and so on that are in Google AdWords itself. And finally, we'll look at the difference between AdWords and analytics conversion tracking. And those are the two different ways of setting up conversion tracking. And you'll see the pros and cons of each of them. and then decide which one is most ideal for you. So let's get started. So in this video I'll be looking at PPC conversion tracking, and it's primarily focusing on Google AdWords. Now when you go into AdWords, there's a section where you can add your conversions to track your ads, keywords, campaigns and ad groups. That's under tools. So if you go to tools and under measurement, you've got conversions, and when you click on that, it brings you to your conversion page. If you've got any conversion set up, this is where they come up. Now what is PPC conversion tracking? It's basically tracking any actions that people take when they click your ads and arrive at your website. So that could be when someone purchases, downloads a white paper, signs up to a newsletter, or even an app, downloads your app, or any purchases in an app, calls you from your ads, or calls you from the website. All of these can be actions that people take on your website, and you can set them up as PPC conversion tracking metrics. The reason why you want to set up PPC conversion tracking, and very important to set it up from the beginning, because it's almost impossible to optimize campaigns successfully without tracking in place. You won't know which of your ads or keywords are working well for you, so you definitely need conversion tracking. It's almost as important as setting up the campaigns itself. And when you come into your campaigns, you can see the various conversions that you've set up, and then you can see how many you've had. So the metrics show you repeat rate, all conversions, and you can track each of those. So PPC conversion tracking is important, and you can do it in Google AdWords or Google Analytics. Now in this video I'll be taking you through the process of setting up Google AdWords conversion tracking, and we will specifically be setting it up within AdWords and not using Google Analytics goal tracking. So the first thing we do is come to our conversion page, which is under the tools tab. If you click on measurement and then click on conversions, it sort of brings you to this page, and you can see any other conversions that you've set up. So to set up a new one, you click on that, and we are going to be setting up website conversions. But if you've got an app, you can set that up as well. You can set up phone calls, and you can import some of your conversions in here, offline conversions. So we click on website because that's what we want to track, and that opens up the page where we put all the features for the conversion tracking. So let's just call this purchase, and the category describes the kind of action that we want to track. So we want to track when people buy on our website, and the value, maybe we can assign a value of $100 per conversion, or whatever makes sense to you, or don't assign a value if you don't want to. So that really depends on your business and what you're doing. Select how many conversions to count per click or interaction. So Google recommends every conversion for purchases where every conversion adds value. So if someone clicks your ads and makes 3 purchases, Google will count them as 3 conversions, and that makes sense because it's 3 different purchases. So we'll go with that. And the next one is we will look at our conversion window. The default is 30 days, and you can change that depending on the industry you're in. If it's e-commerce, maybe you want to extend that and perhaps you could go for 90 days or a custom one depending on your business and how long after a click you want to track a conversion. So if someone clicks today and they come back maybe in 60 days or 90 days, so if you've set that as 90 days, it will still track it, and that's fine. So we'll have it as that. And view through conversion, not really that necessary for this, and we can include this in conversions. and that's the default when we're looking at our reports. The attribution model basically says which click is assigned that sell or purchase. So we can say the last click is the one, and that's the default one. You can change that, for example, and say maybe the first one, which would be first click, or you can change it to a linear one and it assigns it to the different clicks or ads and so on. And attribution models are for search and shopping campaigns. So if all of that is fine, you click create and continue, and that brings you to the page where you're now going to set up your tags. So you can install the tag yourself, email the tag to your web developer, or use Google Tag Manager and install it yourself. If you know how to do it yourself, you just take the tag and then just copy it and place it on the specific page you want to track, and then that will start tracking as soon as, and once that's done and you're happy with it, you just click next and you're done. So that's basically how you set up conversion tracking. In another video we'll look at goal tracking, which is much more advanced and has many more benefits than Google AdWords conversion tracking. So there are two ways to track conversions, and one of the ways is through Google Ads and setting up Google Ads conversion tracking in your account. The other one is through Google Analytics and setting up goal tracking. The two are similar, but there's quite some big differences, and this is what we're going to be looking at here. Now in Google AdWords, you go under tools, and under measurement you will see conversions. When you click on that, it brings you to this page, and as you can see, I've got multiple conversions there set up. If I wanted, I could set up new ones and start working that way. The disadvantage with Google AdWords conversion tracking is that it's only for Google AdWords, whereas Google Analytics conversion tracking, which is goal tracking, will track all your other channels and the interaction between those channels, which is one of the major differences. So in Google Analytics, I've got some goals set up here, and I can set up to 20 at the moment, and then I can see what actions people are taking on my website. So it's a big difference in how you set them up, but they play sort of similar roles. You can certainly transfer your goals into AdWords and track your AdWords traffic within Google AdWords itself, having set up the goals. The only thing though is you have to make sure your accounts are linked. So your AdWords and your analytics accounts should be linked, and you would do that within this section. And as you can see, my account is linked and it's the same one we were looking at prior. So when all that is set up, you can then come and set up your goals. So the difference is really in the reporting. Analytics has got much more reports than you would get in Google AdWords. So when you come into your reports, you can see you've got acquisition, behavior, conversions, and you can drill into your traffic and see what's happening for the different actions that people are taking on your website. Whereas in Google Ads, you basically have conversion, and you can certainly look at conversion cost per conversion, and conversion rate. Those are some of the primary metrics you will have in Google AdWords. But when you set up Google Analytics, you get a lot more acquisition traffic reporting, and you can drill into your traffic and see how people are interacting with your website and your ads. And for example, if I scroll down and come into this, I can see the various goals that are set up, and for each of those I can see how my sources and mediums are performing, and I can look at the conversion rates. So if I wanted, I can change all of that. So the reports in Google Analytics are a lot more advanced than you would get in Google AdWords itself. The other really big difference I like about Google Analytics tracking is that the conversion reporting goes into depth regarding how your PPC traffic and other channel sources are working together. So if we go into multi-channel funnels and top conversion parts, we can see what each channel, the role that it's playing in the conversion tracking. So some channels will assist other channels, and some will be the last click and people will purchase after seeing that last one. So you can see that interaction between your channels in your multi-channel reports in top conversion parts. And for example, social media tends to play an early role in introducing people to your business, and maybe later people can convert on through PPC and organic. So here I can see, for example, for 2 conversions, the people clicked twice and they clicked the ads twice and then converted. So this is detailed reporting you won't get if you're only using Google AdWords conversion tracking. So it gives you a lot more information on how your campaigns and your channels are performing. Another advantage of Google Analytics over Google AdWords conversion tracking is the range of different options you have, the categories for the conversions that you can set up. So if we go back to goals, we want to set up a new goal, for example, we just click on new goals, and depending on the industry you're in and what you're doing, we can see different types of actions to set up for your site. So on my site, obviously these are the main sections: revenue, acquisition, inquiry, and engagement. So you've got a wider range to pick from, and you can track these, and you can set up a wide range of different types of actions to track, and that just gives you more information about how your business is performing. And the other difference between AdWords conversion tracking and goal tracking is the code and the tracking that you place on the website. This is a big advantage with Google Analytics, is that for every goal you set up, you won't need to add code to the website as you normally would with AdWords conversion tracking. So for example, so when you first set up your Google Analytics account, there's one code you're going to add, and that's going to track all the pages and is going to be important for setting up the different features for your site and so on. So if we wanted, we could say we want duration, for example, and we go to goals, and you can see this one I can set minutes and seconds. This is stuff that you don't get in Google AdWords, and you won't need to add any tracking code, for example, on it. Another one I'll show you in a minute is maybe, for example, let's try contact us, and you see how we set up a URI. So all you would add is just the uniform resource indicator, and once you add that and you click save, it starts tracking your goals and so on. So definitely always go with analytics goal tracking where possible, because it saves you a lot of time. You don't have to keep adding code, and you get a lot more reports than you would get with just simply Google AdWords conversion tracking. So in this lesson, we're going to be talking about how to reduce your average cost per click. Reducing your CPC helps you to sort of reduce your costs and makes you assign even a lower budget for really good performance, and you start to see better performance for your conversion rate and your cost per conversion. Now, the obvious way to reduce your cost per click is firstly reducing your bids. So if you find your bids are a bit high and you want to reduce them, and you know that performance will not be affected is you go into your bid section for your actual bids and just reduce them here and reduce them manually. Now, to do this, you need to have manual CPC bidding in place in your campaign, so you're able to reduce it, as you can see here. So if I wanted to be just above all organic search results for this keyword, I can set it to £6.54, and that will reduce it from the current £12.50 bid amount that I have. So reduce your bids, and that's going to reduce your average cost per click. Another way is to improve your quality scores. If you improve quality scores and you don't increase your bids, it means you will pay less for the positions you have. Even if you bid higher, you get higher positions, but you get it at a lower cost. So work on your quality scores, and as you can see, I've hovered my mouse over the status for this keyword, Google AdWords Expert in Exact Match, and it shows me that it's a 10 out of 10 quality score. Now that's an excellent quality score, but if you have keywords like 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10, some of these factors will be below average. So your ad relevance, expected click-through rate, and landing page experience. So you need to work on those three to improve it, and we've covered that in another lesson. So improve your quality scores and you'll see overall improvement of your campaigns, and your CPC will drop. Another way to reduce your cost per click is maybe change the bid strategy you're using. So maybe go for something slightly different and see how your ads will perform. So at the moment, this is a manual CPC bid strategy, so you may want to go for something like maximize clicks and try to get yourself as many clicks as possible for your budget. So the AdWords system is going to do the bidding, and you're going to pay the cost per click based on where your ads are in those positions, and it'll try and get you as many clicks as possible. However, if you're already using an automated bid strategy, maybe one of these, you may decide to change it to a manual CPC and then control the bids that you're setting, so you're able to cap how much you spend, and that will just reduce your cost per click, and you'll see your conversion rates and cost per conversion getting better over time. So those are the main ways to reduce your cost per click, and it's something you will do constantly as you're managing and optimizing your campaigns. Congratulations and thank you for taking my course, and well done on completing it. I hope it has been really helpful for you and that you've implemented some of the things you've learned. Please check out my other courses and send me any questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. Well done.